Hello, Faith. Welcome to another lesson. Today, I will take my time to explain how to make a salicylic acid toner for you. Remember, salicylic acid is a BHA, that is beta hydroxy acid. Unlike lactic acid, glycolic acid, citric acid, and others that are AHA, alpha hydroxy acid. Salicylic acid, it helps with acne prone skin, oily skin, people with blackheads, people with white heads. So you can make a toner out of it, you can make serum out of it, you can add it into cream, but we are focusing mainly on toner. Make sure to like, share, comment your thoughts, and follow. Get a pen and a paper and follow this class. As I am talking, make sure you write down every single thing. First of all, salicylic acid powder won't dissolve inside water unless maybe you're using it at about 0.1%. Secondly, check your country regulations regarding it before you formulate with it in order to know if it is classified under cosmetics or drugs, and if under cosmetics, how many percent you can use. In this formulation, 2% was used in this toner that you're currently watching. You will dissolve it first before you add it into the water. Solvents you can use to dissolve salicylic acid are glycols such as propylene glycol, butylene glycol. You may also combine like sodium lactate and glycerin together if you are making like natural products, or use castor oil if you are adding it into a oil-based product. Ethanol can also be used, but people complain of it drying out their skin, so which is why ethanol is not so common again. And then lastly, when making a cleansing product, you may use things like cocamidopropyl betaine to dissolve it. In one of the videos on this channel, we already compared salicylic acid, dissolving salicylic acid in different solvents for you, so you can go to our channel, check for the video and watch before you continue with this, or when you're done with this, then you can watch that video. And if you remember, we'll tag it in this particular video too. When using propylene glycol, use ratio 10:1. That is 10% of your solvent to salicylic acid, like propylene glycol to salicylic acid 1%. So which means that since we used 2% salicylic acid powder in this formula, 20% of propylene glycol was used to dissolve it. Weigh your solvent first in a heat-safe container, then you can now add powder into it, the salicylic acid powder. Remember, acid goes into liquid, and pour it into the solvent. Please protect your nose by wearing a face mask, and the more powdery it is, the faster it dissolves. Place the container on heat to dissolve. You may need to keep stirring it while on heat so that it does not stay unnecessarily on heat for long. Remove it from heat when it is fully dissolved. Let's call this phase A, that is the solvent and the solute that form a solution. Then time for phase 2. This would be your, let's say, your water phase. Remember, this is a phase toner, which means that majority of this formula or product is water. This also means that you can add any water soluble ingredient, but make sure it is an ingredient that can work in the same pH as your salicylic acid. I will talk a little more on pH of this product when we get to the end. To place your water phase on heat or not, determine if the ingredient you are adding needs to be dissolved. For example, I have allantoin in this formula, which needs to be dissolved. Therefore, the water phase was placed on heat. Meanwhile, if you have an ingredient that does not need to be dissolved, you don't need to add it yet, such as if you have ingredients like plant extract, preservative, or any active, etc. Other ingredients that may be added to your water phase are chelating ingredients such as disodium EDTA, sodium phytate if making a natural product. Before I move on, let me remind you that your solvents, that is the glycol or glycerin, are humectants, which means they are not just working as solvents, they will also work to hydrate. But there's a difference in the feel you will get when you select any of the solvents. Glycerin will be tacky on the face compared to the others, which is why it is usually paired with things like sodium lactate in order to reduce the percentage that would normally be used. One thing to also note about adding sodium lactate to your formula is that it can help you boost the pH up. You also don't want too much of it, even though it is a humectant, it can help dissolve and all that thing. So all I'm saying is that choose your solvent with open mind. Glycols are easier to use and not tacky, but they are just not acceptable by all. I hope this video is not getting too long. Let me try and keep it short as much as I can, even though I'm ready to give you all the information. Now, hope you understand it up to this point. Moving on, after you dissolve your salicylic acid powder and you now have a solution, and then you have your water phase. That reminds me, before I move on, use distilled or deionized water, but you can substitute it with hydrosol or floral water of choice, depending on the storyline you are going for. And this hydrosol will give the product some kind of fragrance. Well, that depends on how much you substitute. Meanwhile, this will push your price point. Going back to the point I was making earlier, when you add your salicylic acid solution into the water, it will become cloudy, and that's because it is like adding oil into water or adding oil and water together. Remember, salicylic acid is oil soluble, not water. Therefore, you need an ingredient that will bring both the solution and water together to make it clear. In cosmetics, there is a group of ingredients that has a water loving and oil loving part. These are called surfactants. Before I continue again, I am just saying a cosmetic formulator and coach, and we have both online and physical class ebooks, and we help you customize skincare or hair care products for you or for your brand. You can get this particular formula used in this video from our website, jclabandacademy.com. This means that surfactants are the type of ingredients you need to help you combine oil and water together. There are different surfactants, those used in cleansing products, emulsifiers, but for toners with little oil, what you need is a solubilizer. This solubilizer also perform differently, and the percentage at which you use them may differ, e.g. polysorbates like 20, 60, 80 or PEG 40 hydrogenated castor oil, or for natural products, things like polysugar moss D9, or for cleansing products caprylic glucoside, etc. They have their pros and cons, and using some in cleansers may feel as if you didn't rinse your face very well after washing it, and using the toner, polysorbate can give that. You can start the ratio of your solubilizers to the oil as 5:1, then reduce or increase the solubilizer depending on the result you get and what you want. 1 or 2 solubilizers may also be combined. When you now decide on the best solubilizer you wish to use, weigh your solubilizer and add it into the salicylic acid solution. Mixed till incorporated, that's when you will add it into the water phase in order to avoid it being cloudy. When you now decide on the best solubilizers you wish to use, weigh your solubilizer and add it into the salicylic acid solution. Mix till incorporated, that's when you add it into the water phase in order to avoid it being cloudy. Hold on, you are not just going to be pouring the mixture fast into the water phase as if you are in a hurry to somewhere. You are going to take your time to pour it into the water phase while stirring the water phase. You may use a spatula or overhead stirrer. I like using overhead stirrer, but most times use a spatula when teaching so that you will know that simple equipment can also get the job done. When you have fully mixed them together, keep stirring till clear. If your product is still hot, allow it to cool to 40 degrees centigrade before you add the cool down phase. The cool down phase ingredients are ingredients that don't need heat to dissolve, or ingredients that can't withstand heat. Therefore, you may add your preservative, extracts, if including any, into the products when it is time. Research the ingredients with the percentage you can use before you use them, please. Lastly, pH. Use a pH or pH strip to check the pH of your toner. Salicylic acid works best in an environment that is acidic. So for at-home use, stick to 3.5 to 4 to reduce the harshness and it will also be effective. Higher pH of about 4 to 4.5 for salicylic acid will still be okay to use. It will be milder, but it won't be as effective as, or as, should I say, strong as at when it's at around 3.8. Time to go. I hope you've learned something today. Don't forget to always come back to watch this video, subscribe, comment, and get your formulas from jclabandacademy.com. We can also help you develop products, formulas, any special formulas you have. If you have any question, drop it below. You can reach us on any of our online platforms, social media platform. I also want to mention that if you also want us to mention your brand in the next video, kindly reach out to us. Bye for now.